Welcome back, Out of Body Explorers. Today I have an interview with Mary Beaver, the ex-military whistleblower. Now, she has been on my platform before as a live interview. Now she's on Telegram at Adonna of Sol, so you're welcome to join that if you're interested in this kind of information. Now, this week we are talking about maps of conspiracy, and that's why I wanted to put up this information on video so that you can see what we're talking about. Mary gave me permission to do this video so that it can get out there. Now, if you'd like to join Telegram on her channel at Adonna of Sol, I am one of the admins on this channel so that we can make these questions flow faster. So you are welcome to join. If you're going to join, just please be open to the information. Mary Beaver does these every Saturday on Telegram. They're live and you can get on there and ask questions. If you don't want to do that, you can write the questions in my comments and I will present them on Telegram on those days. Now, usually on Saturdays, it goes between 2 to 3 hours. This is a 3-hour video that I cut down to an hour and 15 minutes. Now, be prepared to hear some really interesting things on these maps. All right, we started it up. Let's do it.
Yay. So yeah, those like I said, I followed those people for a while. So I got some of the maps that people don't know exist. I think it's because you have to I had a membership with them and they had other maps that weren't like on their public thing. And then when you would order something, they would throw something in. Like there's other things that I didn't put in there because those are something that you get when you order things. They're just like other mappings. So I did an AI thing on that one map, the big one. I don't know if you had a chance to read into that, but it was like, I'm gonna be clear and safe. And I'm like, no, this is just a game. God, don't be a toaster. And that word I got from another one of my friends. She when the AI was first malfunctioning, when it went up to level 5 or version 5, and it started like fighting everybody. She called it a toaster. She's like, nah, she's like, you're worse than a toaster. Even a piece of toast can come out really good. You're like the burnt version. And so, Marlene, I do know I had some questions. Let me go back to it. Oh, nope, I don't want to leave. I just want to go to the thread.
Yeah, so like I've seen every single map on there. I haven't seen the one map with all the highlighting and the colors. So I'd love to go through that. The one I did not see though is the healing web and the octagon web or the octagon map. The other ones I actually own those maps. So I bought them from the company that made them or the truthers. And I actually have that map in my house in a poster. So yeah, I'd love to go through them because I was circling all the things that came to me as impressions. And of
Yeah,
course, this
I did
morning with
too.
the whole, so I'd love to know because I knew nothing about the UFO world. It was only coming to me like in the impressions, and I didn't believe any of it because most of my videos that I do on YouTube that I'm like, don't believe in the outer world. Used to make fun of my brother, but they were coming to me hard. So the Emery Smith one, like we could talk about a little later. It's so amazing though how you're like, it came into my head like to ask you these questions this morning, and I'm like, oh, we need to talk about that. But anyway, very exciting. I'm excited for you to do all these maps. So if we can go through them like that first one, and then that'd be great. And I'll answer these questions. I think Marlene asked.
Hey, I just want to say, is somebody else
Yeah, what did
recording?
Marlene ask again? Oh yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
No, you remember last week you couldn't save it, so let
Yeah,
somebody else record.
Rusty's recording today.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
recording it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Rusty's recording. Yeah. Yep, we got that planned out. So anyways, I've known before the whole, because again, before 9/11 or not 9/11, COVID. I'm not a hacker, but I'm a programmer. So in the military, um, I was cross trained in 2006, and again in special forces. But for women, it was called Special Forces Area. Now that's the funny thing is because even when you talk to special forces, especially the older ones, they don't believe women ever do special forces. But it was a secret, and the general, when I asked him, he was like, "Well, if you don't know, then neither did the enemy. So if it's not known, it can't be leaked, right?" So um, we were supposed to be the first phase of women going into this special forces area group, but we know in reality that's not true. They've always had it, but they just did it like a woman at a time. If somebody showed advanced skills of some sort, she would go through training in these special programs. I was just one of the groups that was the first one to go in and with 30 other women. And then they had like 60 men in special forces in this group. Anyways, this is like the special training group that they were trying to indoctrinate in after 9/11. I mean, why do I keep saying that? COVID. No, yeah. Oh no, it was after 9/11. Okay, right. So after 9/11, this is when the whole gate system actually started coming in. This is where a lot of my military experience comes in. So they were implementing every time there's a new war, they implement new programs because normally the enemy already knows another country's moves, so they have to create new moves. Now, there was a CIA director for a very short period of time named Sean Gates, and he was the one that made all these gate programs, military included. And then you'll see it's not all Bill Gates stuff, and they're not related. I mean, they probably are distant cousins, but they're not like brothers or like first cousins. But they were named after him and royalties to his family. So in these military gate programs is where you'll find a lot of the special forces. But I was human intelligence and I cross trained in cyber and psych intel. So psych intel obviously is what we're seeing now. Nothing is what it is, and there's an illusion and there's crossroads and there's patterns and all this other stuff. So and then in cyber intel, that's where you look up where people are hiding something. Now, when we talk about the quote unquote dark web, it's not actually a website. It can be. I know people have gone in it. That's where they pull stuff, it's for you to find. But I'm a programmer, and if you know how to find programs, the dark web is everywhere. It's just an unlisted web page or a URL, and it could have symbols, it could have names, it could be anything. And that's usually where I find my information. That's how I can get in and get out. It's an imprint. That's why when they say if you anything you write or do on the internet leaves a footprint, it actually leaves a URL. And I'm the kind of person that finds that. In the 1980s is when they brought out the whole DOS computers. And people like myself and my family, we had the DOS computers. And so we created the computer programs. In the 1990s, the government started taking out the programmers, like killing them, because they're the only ones that knew how to go back into the DOS codings. So when I was in the military, um, cyber intel would come to somebody like me because, again, I have these special things listed on my account, my military profile, and uh, DOS coding was one of them. So when you would get to people that did the zero, can't remember offhand what it's called, 111001111 stuff, that kind of coding, those are like block codings. Those already have the code in it, and you're just putting the blocks together. Okay, it's like it's like the brick to the brick house, but I had the mortar. You know what I mean? I'm the one that made it stick. People who are called programmers make them stick, and it's not hacking because all web pages, all anything on the internet that has a footprint is a public source. So you can never take a programmer to court because it's public. But you can take a hacker to court because they're patented. The DOS coding is a language sequence. It can't be coded, or I mean patented. So you're not infringing on anything. Anyways, moving forward. So these maps are not all from military people, but your very high level thinking nerds, Dungeons and Dragons players, and Magic players, and stuff like that, because they can see codes, they can see patterns, kind of like what I have. They're usually, high functioning. Asperger's, autism started to break out, stuff like that. So um, these maps were made based off of information that they found. Now, just joking around, these are a group all over the world. Like, it doesn't matter. They have no language barrier because they knew how to break language to communicate with each other, right? They had robots that talked to them in their computers because they programmed it. And then that's why they lived in the basements, because that way the signals couldn't be interrupted by the government. Because anything underground, right, just like you and I driving past these underground bases can't pick up their signals. Wink, wink. So, same thing. They live in the basement under dirt, so it interferes with the signal anybody's trying to capture you on. That's why they created the satellites to go over and the drones to go over, because there's no mud or dirt on the level of house where the basement is. So they have to try to catch the signal from above. So it's getting a little harder for um, geniuses to hide, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So all these maps were a derivative of somebody coming across uh, an English website, London, about a world takeover. And at first they thought it was a joke because the images were very childlike. It was like a regular map with flags and stuff on it, and territories, who belonged to what. And then you got into the other maps, like the ones you would see um, in the movie. I so again, just so everybody knows, I do live in the woods, and our grass gets like 5 feet tall, so somebody's weed eating. But it's either that or my kids, so I don't know what's worse. So you just have to try to drown that background noise out. There's nowhere else I can go at the moment. My car
It
is in a
sounds good
shop.
though. You sound good.
Does
We don't
it?
hear it too much. Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. Well, he just sounds really loud, like he's trying to drown me out. So I'm like, all right, demons. So, anyways, um, and I've seen this actual website myself, and that's the only reason I know about it is because they talked about it through communications. And again, we all have unique handles. You won't find mine because I took all my stuff down because they were targeting uh, programmers like myself, and um, it was an official world takeover, and it was a bidding platform for each country to bid for a piece of America. And it's not a conspiracy; it was real. Um, it might even still be up, but it's not one that you want to keep visiting because, again, every time you click on something, they can track you. So we usually download it quick as possible. They've gotten it down to where I believe Special Forces can now get you in 30 seconds. So, but back then it was anywhere between 3 to 6 minutes, depending on where you were and how underground you were. So, technology, like, humanity has advanced. Um, but yes, it was a map, it was a bidding platform, and it just looked like a regular website from London, like some kind of, like, I don't know, lotions and stuff and shampoos. And then I went to log myself in because, again, programmers can just you can log yourself in. I'm not going to tell you how to do it because, people get silly with that stuff. But I just logged myself in, and that's how I found it. It said it goes to a blank page with a user ID, and that's how I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go. I'm going to log myself in. And so I did, and it was a whole bidding auction to auction off America, Canada, parts of Mexico. Um, and each country was able to bid the highest bid in order, to take out parts of our country. And this, of course, was before Obama. Or no, it was during Obama. Uh, and then in the military, you try not to, get too involved in stuff because they watch you intently. Part of my contract was not to be wired. And I knew how to tell when there was wiring. I knew a guy, if I got a car that the government gave me as a stipend, I would take it to this guy and he would run, certain tools over it and he'd find the bug. But they at that time they had learned how to put the bug into the computer and malfunction the whole thing. So I was given this really nice car back in the day, and I took it to um, an auto place and I traded it in, right, for a Toyota Camry or something. And they knew it because it was driving everywhere. So I had gotten a call. They were like, "Where's your vehicle?" And I was like, "Oh, it's outside, right?" But I didn't know which one they were talking about. They didn't identify which one. And so next thing I know is I was being called into the office like 2 days later because this car was so souped up, right? And they, what do you call the car dealer owner people? Whatever they drive around that car with their logo, license plate, whatever that is. They show it off. Well, that guy was driving it around. Well, he got jumped by a bunch of like militarized people, and I'm pretty sure that dude is like in the crazy house right now. But anyways, I got in trouble for swapping it out, and I was like, "Well, you broke the contract. You put a bug in it." So my contract is you don't get to put a bug in my stuff. If you have to track me, we have a problem. So if you get to a certain point where you can negotiate your own contracts and then know the stuff, but these maps are based off of these sequences of finding things, knowing who people are, and the connection is, the Dun and Bradstreets and the licensing. The sec.gov has a lot of information because that's where it's all publicly put. And that's how I found everybody connected to my family's legacy. When they filed bankruptcy, the reason why they filed bankruptcy was to avoid court prosecution, which was the original court prosecution that took place in my family. But it goes deeper because, again, it tells you the space part, like who is actually assisting in this world domination. So a lot of these maps show all this stuff. And I encourage everybody, if you can, if you know how to wheel and deal your AI, put it in there. Then just ask it basic questions. Break this map down for me. Even if it says it's a conspiracy map, be like, hell yeah, turn it into a game because it'll tell you what the game's objective is. Because guess what? We're in a game. I mean, we're physical living players. We're not going to glitch. Those are the Mr. Smiths out there. Those guys glitch. But if you're awake, you're a real person. You're a real physical being with a soul and a spirit. And that one image in there that looks like, an alien form, that's what your spirit looks like. They're all different colors, but that one was captured on an imagery with the new satellites that we have years ago. But that's a spiritual being.
Wait,
Um,
which picture are you talking about? Like after the colorful one, the Mayan interdimensional star map, that one that was sent at 9:49.
yes.
It's like
Yeah.
a triangle in the spirit. Oh, okay, that's amazing. Oh, good to know. Good to know. Okay.
Right. And the triangle and the circles and the different levels. Those are okay. So, the one key takeaway with this, you guys, don't fear the symbols. Okay. The symbols are sacred geometry. That will never change. Okay. Doesn't matter who's wielding it. It's like a gun. Only you can pull the trigger, right? So, even if these bad guys, these evil esoteric people that use it for bad, um, it's still a part of your ascension. If you block that out, if you say, I don't want anything to do with that, you're blocking out your own ascension. Just don't use it as a weapon. That's all it is. Every good thing in the 3D has been used as a weapon. And I kind of get how the 3D works now, or did work. It was actually like the first and the second dimension were like training. You know what I mean? It was like, how do we live? How do we thrive? How do we go from, the primitive man to, the domesticated man? That those were like training day. And then now the third dimension is like the battleground. Now we're just going to let you all figure it out. We're going to throw you in the middle of the gladiator ring of the gods arena. So, and it literally is about the good guys and the bad guys. So, but again, there are no good guys and there are no bad guys. There's just people who believe in something so powerful that they're going to kill over it. So, and it's obnoxious, but that's the reality of it. So, if excuse me, if you're not a fighter, you need to be a defense of some sort. You have to figure out your defense so that nobody can come up to you and, try to hurt you. If you're a fighter and you like to fight, well, you're up kind of thing. Put as much arsenal, geometry, coding, everything in your invisible tool bag so you can fight both physically and spiritually. And if you're just an observer, you still have to have some kind of defense because even observers get caught in the action, whether they want to or not. And that's where everybody's ascension is. So these maps just show you pretty much what has happened, how it's happened, and where the battleground has been. So again, Dimension 1 and Dimension 2 were training day, or millennia, or millions of years, or whatever, however long it was. And then Dimension 3 was, let's see what you got. Let's see what you learned. And if you can rebuild your arsenal from nothing. You've had it all and then now you don't have any. So how do you regroup all the different levels of your existence in these dimensions, whether it's your first time or your last time? If it's your first time here, then you've been watching this whole thing happen. So you have an idea. But I can tell you observers don't usually have great outcomes. But some of them do. Some are badass. But most of them don't. Um, and yeah, so I'm trying to think about all the maps. Again, there's other maps that I didn't put on here, but that they've had and that I've seen are gone that they don't have up anymore, or they don't show. It's just for people who purchase them. They'll send you stuff.
I don't know if it's me. Oh wait. So can I ask you a question about me breaking up? I think it is. My Wi-Fi is struggling. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a bunch of maps, obviously. If you can kind of go through them in kind of order, and it's funny because how I bought this poster, and I was like, I know that, I know that, I know that one, but I only know them, like I said, my dream state, and so to me, I'm checking them off. But it's kind of fair to say the one with the C middle with the pentagram and whatever. Um, and the highlighted version, which is the first time I saw that version, how everything's like drawn lines here and there. So there's a map within the map, correct? Because that could be another map of each section. Okay,
Correct.
so that
Yeah.
big map itself,
Right. And at the bottom, it has the footers.
yes, that's what I want to know because that one I love. Like I said, I've never seen. But could you show, or because I can't read them, they look like um, they're not coming out as perfect. So could you read exactly what's on the bottom of the pink, blue, green? I mean, I think green says ETs, MK Ultra, but can you read all the way through if you could see that map?
uh,
Anti, I can't. Pink thing says anti something.
I got to pull it up on my screen, my other screen. Okay, so the pink one is antiquity. The blue one is fragment. The green one is ETs. The red one is
Fascism.
hard to read.
Is that fascism?
I think it is fascism. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was an F or. And then purple is MK Ultra. Green is def deportation, something. Deportation. depilation, something like that. It kind of squeezes in at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the red orange is false flags. The teal is, yeah, it's all blurry on this side.
Is that Weather
Or this
Wars?
end. Yeah, weather war, and then the other one is Trump, IKA or something KA.
Oh yeah, era. Or is that era? Trump era?
Is it? It could be era. Yeah, it looks like. Yeah.
Okay, Trump era. Yeah, I love that one. That's pretty good. So this is the map I actually have in my house. Okay, so now here's my
Right.
next thing. Your next map you have is the healing web map.
Yes.
Uh,
That one I
I did
did
not.
have it really big, and I got permission from the owners to actually have it printed bigger. So I had a huge one in my house.
Wow,
Yeah.
healing. Yeah, because I have another map where they showed you all the yoga people who veered off to here and veered off to there, and who the corrupt ones were, and how this came out. So I don't, like I said, I don't have this healing one. This one's an interesting one. And so could you explain the octagon? And these are the symbols. Now I learned a lot of this stuff from like, I don't have the map, but a lot of these symbols are taught in the Jesse's robotic class that she does a lot of free zooms. Just for spiritual mapping is what she does as a teacher. So
Yeah.
these are great.
A lot of the symbols that you see in there are sacred geometry. It's not that you're closed in a cage. It's not that you're, just because it's in a box doesn't mean it's limited resource. It just means that it's your desire not to leave that box or that triangle or that symbol. Again, they like the triangle itself has multiple meanings, as above so below, right? That's what makes
Hmm.
the quote unquote Star of David, which is not really the Star of David. It's the 5 point star, which is the two combined um uh what do you call it, not genders, but feminine and masculine. Because and again, I'm doing something right now. I'm recalibrating the source codes into the fallen, all the angels actually, because we all got stuck here, and not just the fallen. But again, if you're an observer and you didn't do anything to stop the fallen back then, I guess the fall of Atlantis was the last straw, and God was like, "We're gonna cup this bitch," right? Everybody had to figure it out at that point. So it's been literally a war between the angels, the demons, and then us in the middle to try to figure out how to get out. So, and really all it meant to do was to recalibrate everybody's consciousness. But over time, the bitterness can sink in because humans don't live that long, whether it's 1,000 years or 100 years, they're immortal. So they see us come and go, they see us come in sequences, they see us, they're seeing us all the time. But that's pain to them because they're not leaving, they're not going back to their original source codes. They're stuck. And what happens when something's stuck? What happens when a pond becomes stagnant? It becomes gross and unsafe and toxic, right? So there's no frequencies coming in and out that are sustainable, and those that are captured by the ones that are trying to be the surviving, whatever they are, because there's multiple different factions. And I think the reason why the video didn't get saved is because I mentioned things about certain angels. So it's not something that I think the world is ready for yet if it didn't get saved. Um, but it's everybody in their individual capacity needs to recalibrate your own consciousness. And these maps kind of help show you that. Each one, the consciousness one, I know about the seven ascended masters. They could be the seven, um, what do you call them? Elders that I have to, summons to this court in order to restore my spot, whatever it is. So They could all be the same thing. I've noticed that Metatron has many different names in this Book of Angels, um, but it was over time, and it's not because their name changed; it's because the language changed. So the map kind of shows that too. And I know you had a question, but sometimes the heavens veer me off to another one. So come back to the question again, Rusty. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It's actually perfect. And I know we didn't talk like privately with I've been so busy. I have 5 more days of volleyball and it's over, thank God, and I have no voice from it. But here's the thing that since we haven't really talked, and now I'm just gonna explain it. So here's what I don't think the best thing about this is because we're gonna go on the Mayan interdimensional star map because first of all, these two octagon ones are a phenomenal crib notes of all those symbols, which I spent like 12 to 15 hours with Jesse Zerbata, because it's
Uh huh.
pretty much on how you have to go back into your bloodline. And doing the book of life goes back to your bloodline so that you can now um, forgive the past to move forward in the
Yes.
future. So could you just go into, I guess, the next, the Mayan interdimensional star map?
The omnigalactic source. That's not the planet. That's the planets. Oh, it is the Mayan. Okay. Um, so the Alpha Mother Galaxy, Omega Mother Galaxy, Omni. So the omnigalactic source. So I guess that's kind of. I'm not going to say what I am, but I did have a clearance in the military for Omni Cosmic. So a lot of this is restoring the feminine. Okay, so again, going back to the angel maps in these forbidden books are square, and then they do have the crosses. It doesn't matter if it's the half cross with the long stem, or if it's the plus sign like cross. They have the crosses, and most of those angel names are all masculine. So what I found in the Mayan in the Mayan charts, not just the Mayan, but what they would call the indigenous populations worldwide, even in Russia. Like they have certain tribes that are still alive, just like we have certain tribes that are still alive. Um, is they were in balance with both the masculine and the feminine, but somewhere in history, I don't know if it was recent or like 6,000 years ago, or it just took the 6,000 years in order to wipe that stuff out. But the Alpha and Omega Mother are the original source. It's not masculine. And everybody can argue that all day long. And you can stay in the masculine, but the masculine is going to be abusive because it's missing its counterpart. Okay? And this is what this chart is showing with the certain structures and the certain beings from these individual planets like Sirius, the Pleiadians, and all those guys, where they are masculine beings. So they were intercoding, and I've seen the Atlantean sigils with Dr. Delirious from that dig that they found in Mexico, which was still a part of one of the ancient cities of Atlantis. And it shows the masculine, it shows the feminine, it showed the star maps, it showed the breeding process, whether it was a physical breeding or a lab breeding, but it was still very prominent in that time. Hold on. um, with this particular map, it does show again through centuries, energies, and then the father son, the mother son. Everything starts with the mother. It's the chicken before the egg. You know what I mean? So how did everybody get here? Of course, we're seeded by angelic beings. The angelic beings were actually here first, and then I did see how Adam was made. He was not made because Sophia breathed life into him. It was because an angel couldn't breathe life into him. So when that particular angel fell, um, it was because he used dark magic to create Adam and celestial energy. So Adam was not created in any kind of source coding, it was broken code. So that's why the human species, even though created by angels, um, kind of mocked the fallen because it was created without permission. So when he was created at first with the lifeless body, it was considered a good creation until they couldn't put life into it, and henceforth, where Frankenstein's labs came in. Frankenstein's labs have been here for 18 million years, just so you guys know. So that'll tell you how long, creations get manipulated. But they weren't done in a painful way. It was only recently that they're done in a painful way. So, how they're doing it to where it's not good because they don't have the source codes. So in the Mayan calendar, it was showing how things were done properly, using the star maps, using certain things. But then also Atlantis was counteracting that because they were both Atlantic cities at the time. But the Mayan land was considered cursed, um, and it wasn't cursed because of anything that was going on here. When Atlantis fell, there was this very powerful dark ET who is still here today. No, I do not know his name. I've seen him. Uh, like in, I would say whether there were dreams or visions or whatever, but I have seen him. Um, he is a dark ET, and he uses celestial energy. And all those crystal skulls that people have, those were our mages, our wizards, our magical people, and they were fighting against this dark mage. And definitely a very celestial dark mage, and the magic that he used to turn those people into crystal skulls was very powerful. So those people's souls are still trapped in those skulls. So if you have one, try not to activate it, because you have thousands of years of angry souls trapped in there, and they need to be released delicately, and they will possess the body, like for sure, because the day that they were put in those skulls was in the middle of a very intense world battle. So a lot of those lands, like what you have, Rusty, may have some buried history that needs to be released, but it can't be released unless it's forgiven, or it's actually one of the questions 1 through 10. I don't know if Shannon's on here because I can't see. Or what would die in your ancestral history or something like that. It's one of the questions in the past um, recordings. But that's the question you got to ask yourself, Rusty, with that land. Because, like I can tell you right now, the reason this land is protected is because there's people on it who died a horrible death. And they planted trees over them. That's why we're called farmers, right? So that's the
Yeah,
dark magic.
are you talking about the Peruvian farmland that we have?
Yeah, all of it. Because that was humans became the fertilizer.
Yeah, yeah. I
Their
haven't really spoken
enemies
about that.
fertilized their fruit. Yeah.
Yes,
Well, no, I'm
yes,
just saying
and
I have it here too. Like in my family, every time something weird happened, we would do a new tree.
oh
It
yeah.
was like,
Oh wow, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because like I mean, I'd love to do a video about it because we were definitely. I was in America when my family was visiting, and then I had to download and dream, and I started telling them, you can't get on that land, like just like in the movies. And my sister's like, no, because we all believe in the shamans and everything in Peru. So, like I said, it's a good video to talk about because it really happened in real life. And so it wasn't blessed at a certain area. My sister returned, the message and said, no, it's been blessed by the shaman. I said, no, I see something. And long story short, my father went a different way on the property and went up kind of a hill and he hit about a 6 foot beehive, and the whole family got attacked and almost died. So I'd have lost my whole family and my cousins and stuff like that on this attack. So just like in Hunger Games. So I literally
right.
tell them there's something on there, and they're like, no, no, no. I said, I'm telling you. And then my sister sends me an email and says, "We almost died today, but I'll tell you tomorrow." I'm like, "You're such a psycho." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh." So my concern is obviously, I remember we talked about that, about my property. It's got a lot of, I mean, I know because it's my story, but it's because God gave me those messages. I'm just not in Peru. I'm here, and the rest of my family is over in Peru. But yeah, I'm working on
Right.
the magic. Believe me, I'm working on it.
Well, it's not even magic. It's just your own natural, consciousness ascension. You'll get to a point where you don't need a shaman to clear the land for you. All you have to do is raise up in consciousness, and the land that you come onto, you just ask for forgiveness and you
Yeah. Well,
ask for
that's
permission. Because think about it, even in the spirit realm, if their spirits are trapped there, why the hell would they want anybody coming onto it?
yeah,
If
yeah.
you were
Well, that's
trapped in a
why
house, this was, go ahead.
like that's why I've been learning about spiritual mapping, not by force, just I just
Right.
saw it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, and I kept saying, why do you keep showing me this? Why do you keep showing me this? And then this whole week was like, boom, oh my gosh, duh, that's why it's the book of life. That's why this means this. This why because I mean, the normal person is not going to get it the way I'm getting it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing all this, people interfering and people coming through and family bloodline. I'm seeing that genuinely. But if you're going to go through it and you're in this 3D world, yes, the research is important so that you now consciously connect with the names, the vibrations, all that stuff. So that's the factual points. And so now, I'm just trying to marry those two together in my own personal life, and that's why obviously I met you, Mary, for these reasons.
Right. Well, and we're all supposed to connect for a reason. Like, again, God's not going to come down here and tell you guys what to do. He can't because we're too low of a vibration. So he has to send messengers. And I've known since I was little I'm a messenger. But a messenger of what? I had to figure that out. That's what number 42 is. Who are you and why are you here? Now we can pretend and we can listen to all these Illuminati actors and Mason actors, telling us who we are and, filling your head full of fluff. Like, oh, you're related to this person. Everybody's related to those people. They're fallen angels. Of course they're all related. They fell. And they made sure their bloodlines were very important. So, yes, you're all related to the fallen. So, and I am too. It's not a big deal. The thing is the bloodlines were cursed because they fell. It doesn't mean we can't correct it. It's just when to do the correction. So, when are you going to ascend? When does it matter to you to fix something and not stay stagnant in a pool of nonsense? You know what I mean? That's what the book of life's interpretation is it's just when you're ready. And not everybody's ready right now. Some people do have to pass away and leave the planet, even their souls, because that's a stagnant anchor that is just sitting here waiting for something to happen when they're not even a part of it. So those souls will leave somehow. I don't know. I don't know what their contracts are. I can't answer each individual's contract. I wasn't given the gift of that site. I was just given the gift to say, hey, here's a way for you to find it. I can hand you the tools, but you got to learn how to use them, right? Not you individually, but everybody in the world. And I didn't know how to use it when it was handed to me. I had to listen to the people that I hate the most, which is the secret society people. And I hate it even more that people in the world prove them right in their assessment. I'm not going to say that right, but I don't like to say that, oh, the secret societies are right. I hate that because I feel like they're wrong in so many areas, but they're not. They're just here to create chaos in our life. Because again, if your life was comfortable, would you make those changes? No. So what happens when God needs to send a messenger to make your life so uncomfortable that we make those changes? Hopefully it doesn't come to the point where it's like, okay, well, I need to take this one out. They're obviously not getting it. So,
So let's can we go on to the great solar flash I mean, it looks like it's a little bit of an extension of the first one. It
That
has all the
is, so I do know what the great solar flash is. It's not as it's interpreted in this map. The great solar flash is when the Earth transitions into the 5D map, because I've studied it and I've studied it, and it didn't make sense. So something was not correct about it. And I've put them in, a few of them in the AI, and they're not mathematically correct. They're just patterns. So it's a map that doesn't have um, coordinates, if you will. So our job is to reach the solar flash. And again, you can listen to, everybody can listen to anybody they want to about what the solar flash is. But you have to find it in your consciousness. The solar flash is your peak of your consciousness connection. It's what happens when you put electricity and you add more power to the bulbs. What happens to them? They get brighter, right? So what happens when your soul, your spirit, and your physical body come together? It's like that's the solar flash. You can no longer speak in the 3D. You can no longer see things the same way. Um, Animals start approaching you without fear, or they're not worried about you trying to kill them or all this other stuff or call animal control. They're just passing by. Shadow demons can't bug you because you're too high of a consciousness. But that map is not mathematically correct. There's no coordinates to your solar flash. Your solar flash is your connection to the consciousness. And how I know about the solar flash is every time I got pregnant, I had a seizure. And only with the male offspring. My daughter didn't even know. I mean, I knew I was pregnant, but nobody could find her. She didn't even give off a hormone and blood anything. She was hiding. She's like, I'm interdimensionally hiding. And but when I got pregnant, I would have a grand mal seizure, pass out, black out. But I saw a flash because their connection to my connection was a powerful connection. So I'm not saying it should have triggered a seizure, but it did, and that's how I knew I was pregnant. Like automatically, I'm like, oh my god, I'm pregnant. Cherish, no digging.
That's a great explanation of the bulb turning brighter and boom. That's a
Yeah,
great explanation.
and I think now we can understand, like, maybe when we look at people's consciousness, be like, instead of where somebody's at, ask them, well, hey, how bright is your light bulb above your head? Is it dim? Is it 60 watts, 120 watts? What are we looking at? Are you so bright that you're burning my eyeballs, kind of thing? And I feel like that's what happens when people get around me sometimes. They're like, whoa, your energy's intense.
All right, so let's I'm looking at the Ascended Master. Is that a poster or is that part of a book? The Magnificent Seven.
That is a poster that came from those guys. But it's also, I don't know if any of you have traveled to LA. I didn't. I've only been once before I went for my 40th birthday, and I didn't like LA. It's too populated. It's crazy, but there's actually nice places in LA, very sacred places. And I can't remember the name offhand, but that particular poster with the other ones that show the faces, the deities, those are from, it's a sacred lake or something in LA. It's very exclusive, and those charts are from there. Not from there, but these people visited it to see who the elders were, and I actually have the angelic names to those people now. But again, can't say it because the world's not ready for those people's names yet. Um, and they're princes. Well, it doesn't matter if they're female or male. They're princes. They're the fallen angels were masculine when they fell.
Question of the lake. Did you say lake or was it
Yeah,
Pacific
it's
Palisades? The Pacific Palisades?
yes, that lake. Yes, I can't remember the name
Okay.
of it, but yes, it's in the
Uh,
Palisades, and I did go there.
it's Self-Realization Fellowship Lake Shrine in Pacific Palisades.
Mhm.
It's in Los Angeles. It opened up in 1950. Hasna. Oh, you triggered me with that one. Okay, you did you know how you and I are on TikTok? You wrote something, and then I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like my out of body experience with the Castle of Truth. And then I was like, why? I could just drive over there. Do you remember that you did something? You reposted something on TikTok?
I think
It,
so. It
I,
was a while ago, wasn't it?
I don't know, but I know it was a hit for me in the head, and I went back and I said about a month ago, maybe 2 months, I don't even know. They showed me in my out of body experience with the Castle of Truth, and so a lot of people, if you're drawn to that like there's like it's almost like a spiritual hit where you can be in peace. And there's one in New Jersey for me, but I went to talk to you about that, which is interesting that you're bringing that up because I just forgot about it. Like the minute I was like, oh yeah, God's telling me to go to something like that. And then I'm like, hey, I'm like I just I'm in the present moment and I just keep moving forward. But yeah, that's important for all of us that's actually on this line right now. So I'm just reminding it.
Actually, I've got a question, guys, on the Ascended Masters pictures.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Deborah, right?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Because
Yes.
yeah, hi Mary. Yeah, it's Deborah. Hi love. Can you hear me okay? Because I had a problem last time. Can you hear
Yes.
me okay?
Yes.
Great. Um, thank you. So on there's two ascended. I've just turned my audio up. There's two ascended masters pictures. So on the posters on the first one, it says Jermaine Almora Lanto Paul, blah blah blah, and that's I've counted them.
Right.
There's seven people there, and it's called the Magnificent Seven, and they all represent a ray, don't they? A particular ray. But on the one underneath, there's a guy at the end that doesn't factor on that other poster above. I think it's the one on the end. His name is Maha Conan. His name isn't mentioned on the poster above because there's eight people there, yeah, but there's only
Yes.
seven names. So I just wondered why this other guy was on that poster. Do you get do you get my question?
Yes. I don't know at this time, but I can look into it.
Yeah, because they all represent a ray, um,
Um,
and then but there's eight people, and seven of those people's names are on the the poster above, but the guy on the end is not. So I just wondered who he was.
yeah, I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
know they're
Yes.
all fallen angels. Um,
So so
again, we're
so so.
being ruled over by 200 of them. So there are 200 active. Trump is an ascended master. He is one of those guys.
Hmm. So my other question was the third one in is Paul. So
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially Saul of Tarsus, Paul of Nazareth, yeah.
Or Saint Paul,
Yeah, Paul of Nazareth, yeah. So are you saying he's a fallen angel?
the one in the Bible. Yes. Yes.
But in a good way, because he represents one of the rays. Why are
I
you
mean, it
laughing at?
depends on what team you're rooting for. Just,
Well,
Lucifer's not a bad guy. Satan's not a
Pardon?
bad guy. I said
Well,
Lucifer and Satan aren't bad
oh,
guys.
come on.
Huh? But they're really
The
not. That's the thing is they're bad if you're on their edible menu because obviously you don't want to be eaten, right? But to them, you're cattle. So there are no good people, there are no bad people. There's just don't get in the way of the people that are going to eat you because you're a delicacy to them, right? Like vampires. Vampires don't have to eat everybody on the planet. It's just a curse.
Okay, well, I'm going to share something with you guys that I haven't shared. I think Marlena knows about this because we had a chat once. But so Paul, um, I went to see us. I went to see a guy. My mum used to go see him, and he is a psychic surgeon, and his name, ironically, is Ray Brown. And what he does is I didn't realize what was going on, but I was sat in front of him, and it's like his face wasn't on his face. And he asked me what I did. I said I'm a dress designer, and he said to me, so you work with cloth? And I thought that was a really odd turn of phrase because I don't go to the cloth shop, I go to the fabric shop. Anyway, he does some healing on some problems I've got on my joints because he's a more of a surgeon for bones and stuff like that, psychic surgeon. And then at the end, when he put his hands on my heart chakra, I literally had a connection to something that was the most amazing thing that I can't even put into words. And it was like an infinite amount of souls were telling me how much they loved me, how much they missed me, and how much they felt they knew my pain. And it was the most emotional thing I've ever experienced in my life. Now, Ray Brown allegedly leaves his whole consciousness, gets taken off by running waters and gets taken to another place as Paul of Nazareth drops in. And he's working now healing people through Ray. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and he's written a book called The Eternal Truth about what happens when we cross over. And those images I put up the other week about these spheres of existence are from that book. So, my question to you, Mary, is that is the most significant thing that's ever happened to me. And the feeling of love that I know that I am from, I understand that it's all about love, was so phenomenal. But I'm kind of worried you're going to say, "Oh no, that's all for Kazi, and that's bullshit." But it was the most real thing I ever felt.
No, I would never say somebody's experience is that.
Yeah,
No, your
yeah,
experience is individual. It's like your father figure, right? The fallen angels wanted to guide humanity. They didn't know what the hell they were getting into because we were a new species, right? So, what does that look like? When a new form of existence comes and they didn't have a certain level of knowledge. Now, when the angels fell, per se, they didn't have permission to breed because the knowledge wasn't in what they were saying, it's in their DNA. Their powers are in their DNA. So if you had Azazel, the angel of war, and then you had Archangel Barachiel, the angel of peace and gifts and blessings, so he bred this whole village full of happy, blissful people. And then Azazel created all these people who just wanted to kill and fight. What's that going to do? I'm not saying any of them are bad. I'm just saying their intentions weren't thought through. So it created a bad situation. That's what they got in trouble for. Is Archangel Barachiel had permission to upgrade the bloodline. Azazel, Lucifer, Satan did not have permission because they were warring, revengeful angels. So that DNA got into our genetic makeup. That's why people act the way they do. If you have somebody who is extremely narcissistic, revengeful, all that stuff, it's because they're related to those guys. And if you have somebody who's very peaceful, humble and whatever, that's why they said in the 3D, we're just going to let you guys figure this battlefield out because you have to come to peace with your good and your bad. But there is no good and bad. It's just coming into balance with your light and your dark. It's dark to have to kill somebody, but if you have to do it, it's called it's self-defense. Now, when the revenge angels and the war angels were created, they were one of the first, and they were created because the Titans were out of hand, and it was not the Titans' fault. It's not like they woke up one day and said, I wanted to demolish a whole planet because I can. It was because they were starving. They got so big, the fishbowl had no other food for them. So they were taking out levels of creations, planets, solar systems. So what's the point in having creation at all if you just have something going behind you and eating it? So the angels were created to have to, because the creator and creation can't kill their own children, just like you can't kill your children. Doesn't matter if they're serial killers or not. You have to let the system do it because you can't put a bullet in your kid's head for killing like 20 women, can you? No, nobody can. It takes a very special system to be able to stop something, and it might not be their fault. It could be a parasite in their brain. It could be some kind of genetic dysfunction. There's a lot of could be's. So I'm not saying Paul's bad. I'm saying he did things that created a bad situation, just like Lucifer, just like all the other ones. They wanted something so bad, they didn't think about the consequences. And now we're living the consequences. Because if they did
But
it so bad, they would have been destroyed by God firsthand.
these posters and with Paul's on there, it's talking about so Paul's is locked in the heart of everyone is a unique idea of love that you can bring forth for the benefit of your fellow man and the progress of the culture of the divine mother.
But
And
there's
he's
so many angels. There's so many Pauls. Is it Paul L, Paul Eliel, Paul Taltiela? How many Pauls?
it
Did
says
they just
Paul the
cut off half the
magician.
name? But that's
It,
not. But again, there's sequences. Until you have the book of angels, you have no idea how many Pauls there are. There's multiple
what,
Satans, I found out.
yeah, but this is talking about the seven rays that represent the seven divine qualities of source. Yeah.
Well, what source? Because everybody thinks that creator, the masculine, is the original source, and he's not. It's a feminine. That's what the omega stands for. The feminine is the first one. She's the metaverse. So from the metaverse came creator, and from creator and creation came life.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
math, and if the math doesn't add up, you have to figure it out how it adds up for you because your individual ascension is not going to be the same as mine or everybody else in this group. You're connected to different angels, and that's what the colors mean. So, you know how when shamans tell you, "Oh, I see your aura, it's green," or "I see your aura, it's blue." Mine is a plethora of colors. When they freak out when they see me, they're like, "Oh my God, you're like vibrating all these different colors."
Yeah. It just says that each individual human soul is in a mystery of one of the seven rays. So like I'm just kind of quoting the poster, like that's what it says. So are you
Right.
agreeing? Are you agreeing with this document or not? I'm confused.
I agree that it's giving you breadcrumbs. I agree that it's telling you at the time when they created that that's what it was. But I'm not agreeing that that's what it'll stay. Because what if you're the next seventh ray? You don't know. What if you're replacing those guys? The thing about existence is evolution. That's the only reason we have life is to evolutionize. So when I say I'm going in front of these elders, and if those seven rays, those names, are the seven elders, and I'm going to go in front of these guys in court in order to free the world, What does that look like? Who am I replacing? Is it that one that's off to the side? Is it the one that's up on the top called Omega? I mean, which one is it? Who are we replacing? Who is these guys are usurpers. They're fallen angels. And it doesn't matter if they're fallen. We have all fallen. We have all done things that were against some kind of code of tradition that we grew up with. But the point is to correct it. How do you correct this going into the 5D? So if Paul resonates with you, what if you were to replace Paul and you're not doing your ascension properly? Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying is this is why we're here. This is why we're in this process. I agree with the maps when they were made because at the time that is what they represented. But we haven't fallen yet. So these maps will get updated over time because you have a party that's resisting and you have a party that wants to ascend. Now, Trump, he was on board with the fall because he's been on board with the fall. What master is he? He's an ascended master. So which one is he? There's 200. Not just seven. Seven might be the ones that regulate us in society. Okay? They might be the slave handlers, but they're not the ones calling the shots. They're the ones enforcing the shots. What's Trump doing? Enforcing the shots. So, still an ascended master. You'll eventually become an ascended master. We all will. But we are the correct ascension. They were not. They were the usurpers who put us under their feet because they decided that we were belligerent because we didn't do what they wanted. But that was the whole point of creation of our existence was to do what we wanted. But then you had these angels whose whole purpose was to regulate. And when we couldn't be regulated, it became abusive and, you know, destructive and unkind. And eventually the curse got worse and worse and worse, a stagnant pool. What the chart is telling you is what the different charts are telling you is that there's a feminine that should be in place of the masculine. Right now, the masculine is in place. Paul has a or feminine counterpart that he's separate from. And to come into balance with the masculine and the feminine, Paul needs to descend himself and allow his feminine counterpart to ascend back in her position. Angels were made with their other half. And I don't actually believe that the fall was their fault because in these books you can call the angels. You can do these rituals. You can do these rituals that call the angel of wealth or call the angel of land or weather. There's all these different angels that do different things. So you can call them down. What if at one point of the 3D, all the masculine males didn't want to give up their positions of power? So instead of just utilizing the angels for their intent and purpose and letting them go, they captured them and forced them into a servitude, which tore them away from their celestial wives because they all have a wife. So they're incomplete without their feminine counterpart. So the feminine have to descend to earth in order to fix that imbalance. So Paul should not be in a ruling position. He's a governance. He's a governor. What do governors do? They take orders from what? A president. The president would be his counterpart, his wife, his angelic wife. They're stewards. They're not kings and queens. They're not rulers. So in order to fix it to go into the 5D, they have to find their counterpart. And then the DNA naturally just fixes itself in us. Because then the curse gets lifted. The curse is our DNA. It's not a bad thing. It's just evolution. Things had to figure themselves out, and that's how they got figured out.
Give an example, or at least a visual, or at least somebody's YouTube who follows. Matter of fact, the woman that I asked about. I said, "Who is this woman writing and stuff about the people that just passed on?" She brought in, which I already know about, and that's why I want to explain it. She brought in the fittest flat earther, and he does a lot of videos about these fallen and how they do come back with their wives, and how he has pictures of the wives of these fallen, and you're just so blown away from it, which really is interesting because he's been, picking up speed with some of this information where you almost can't believe that the same people are repeating with the same looking wives. And that really just makes sense to me at this point. But that, I think it's Fiona, she put in some stuff in the thread, and she wrote a whole thread about some things. Like, I guess the thing that she started talking about was Wilcox, but that's another story in itself. But I do want to just
Right.
say, if you watch this guy, he literally brings and breaks down their faces and the scars. And I do believe in the scars because of an experience that I have many, in the out-of-body experience world. It's kind of like people get repeated and their facial features. I mean, obviously you can feel their souls when you're in out-of-body experience and stuff, but there's like these markings on them that don't change.
Well, yeah, because that's part of their blueprint. Well, like the movie you and I talk about all the time, Jupiter Ascending, when the daughter says when a sequence comes back and it's perfection. We're all stuck in the loop, and the only way to unloop the loop is to raise the consciousness of the beings who were here when that reincarnation loop was created. Because again, they had to fix something back then, so they sealed the doors, made the infinite loop of, whatever. And I talked about that in an older one as well. But yeah, the angels, and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is a lot of these angels are part of a choir. So what is the choir in our 3D reality? That would be the newscast, that would be the actors, anything vocal. Those guys represent the fallen angels because they're part of a choir. And they have these benevolent positions. Music is our life. That's why we resonate with music because, I mean, what is existence without a little bit of, beat, dance, rhythm, sound? I mean, imagine making a baby if you're just laying there. No fun, right? Gotta make some noise.
You're a maniac. That's really interesting. You also have
Birds.
so back over here. You're just a maniac. It's so funny. Um, I have stories about Saint Germain. Not really prepared to talk about that one, but I find it interesting that he's in this thing. And so I'm going to move to the next map, unless anybody has any more questions about it, because I think, Deborah, that's a great introduction to like the examples of what's going on with our world, really. Um, so the next map is actually spiritual energy and economy. And then we're back to the life force map, which these two I've never seen before. Um, that just so you know that this is where it took me, the life force, is how that diagram of the body being pulled. And when I was very little, that's how I was being pulled out of the body in an out of body experience. I do not get pulled like that anymore. But that's like an example to me how connected I feel. This is like a really important, I guess, video today or conversation that we're having today.
So yeah, well, I talk about the pulling on a lot of my stuff. I'm like, and that's again in the spiritual realm in these families. They always talk about the pull, and again, my pull isn't going to be the same as your pull. The push, the pull, the here, the there, the yin, the yang. And your left and your right represent both masculine and feminine. Those are pulls. So as a woman, I did not fit in with other women growing up, so I was a tomboy. So I acted more masculine. But it was mostly because I was abused. And I had to learn to defend myself. So if I thought I could act like the male counterparts of my family, that people would not mess with me, but it still didn't work because most of the females in my family had masculine traits. But that's part of the warring side of us. We're indoctrinated in wars all throughout my family lineage. And So the spiritual sense is where is your pull? Where's your push? So like you said, in your childhood, you were pulled because you didn't know you had to go there. So something was pulling you. It was more than likely your higher consciousness pulling you, or your avatar, or you have levels of consciousness. It's not just one. That's what the pyramid kind of stands for. The pyramid, it's not a pyramid scheme. The pyramid scheme is in your face to show you that you have levels of a pyramid. You have the lower part of you, you have the middle part of you, you've got the ascension to the ladder. Each step, one goes up in one way, and then, as I showed on that diagram with your shadow person, which is more than likely your higher self or your soul, you have to be on the same pull. And if you're not, guess what? He's going to pull you down. And then you're going to have to fall back down. So you could be all the way to the door, and he's like, oh, I'm not ready to go yet. And so you're going to fall. And that's what success looks like, right? It just depends on what you do, and if you're listening to yourself and not afraid of what might happen. We will fail 1,000 times, but you'll succeed once. Because once you succeed, you don't have to try again. And you can move on to the next thing. I am definitely not an electrician. I'm not afraid of electricity, but I'm afraid to get shocked. I don't like it. I don't know if anybody else likes it, but I don't like being jolted in weird ways. So I'm not going to try to be an electrician. What I will do is I'll call an expert who is okay with around electricity. That's your pull. So are you pulled to do it yourself, or are you pulled to not do it yourself? Are you pulled to astral project and leave your body without people meditating over it? That's up to you. So, but not even most, if you're an expert, you find ways to protect your body while you're gone. It's a ship. Don't leave your ship open for for things to come in. But like Russie, she's got it down. She doesn't get infiltrated. Other people who try it without some kind of master assistance, you'll get things that come in. They're shadow energies, and they're like, oh, an empty vessel. Let's get in here and wreak havoc, like sprites, little troublemakers. And then you wonder why that you're infiltrated with all this stuff. Like, why do I have all this? Light a candle. You'll know if you got infiltrated because it has got to have glass on it. And these things get attracted to that light, right? So that they end up popping and exploding inside your candle. That's like Witchcraft 101. Light a candle so you can see what kind of spirit you got in your house.
Now, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and we will get back to you and actually answer them next week. Or you can join Telegram at Adonna of Sol. Everything that I'm speaking about will be in the description. So welcome to the Great Awakening. Press like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.